Guess what, people? Ron DeSantis does not want us talking about periods in school. Period. That's true right here. Florida is considering a ban on the discussion of menstruation before the sixth grade. This is completely insane, if you ask me. First of all, this is not an article from The Onion. This is something that has been covered around the world because of its patriarchal and oppressive and obviously moronic nature. This is an article from The Guardian, a paper of record around the world, and it is listed under news in the US. I think, again, it should be listed under the march of fascism, the march of religious fascism, the march of patriarchy. Let's take a look, though, about what it says here. This is a picture of Republican governor of Florida and presidential hopeful Ron DeSantis. He's more of a dictator hopeful, Ron DeSantis, but whatever, whatevs. Okay, we've got him. Looks like he is signing something that would keep these young women from knowing about how their body works. Okay, so the article says Florida lawmakers are considering a draft law to strengthen state control over sex education that its sponsor says would ban any instruction in schools about menstrual cycles before the fifth grade. Okay, let's just take a little count of all the problems even within that first paragraph. First of all, Florida lawmakers, not some lawmakers, the Republican lawmakers. Let's be very clear. This is a fight between Republicans who would have women not know anything about their body, feel shame about their bodies, not be able to understand their own processes before the age of 12, which, by the way, some kids are actually using those processes before the age of 12. You're supposed to start talking to your kids about sex education when they're, I don't know, 7 or 8, like when they start asking questions at 6 about where babies come from, etc. Anyway, lawmakers are considering a draft. The Republicans considering a draft to strengthen state control. Damn. Talk about putting it into words. The Republicans, who say they love freedom, actually want to strengthen state control right up in that first sentence over sex education. Now, the lady periods are actually just part of the female body. They're not necessarily part of sex education, a part that would be morally questionable as to, how to teach it, right? This is just pure biology. This is how female mammals are constructed. This is how they reproduce. Mind you, they're trying to stop this before the sixth grade. Many girls have their periods before the sixth grade, especially with all the environmental estrogens that have been plaguing our waterways and our food due to toxic farming, due to plastics getting into everything and breaking down. I think we should be able to talk about it. How come we aren't able to talk about it? It's absolutely, absolutely, absolutely insane. And I believe it's about more than just sex education. It's about shaming women's bodies. This is a death by 1,000 cuts, showing us one of the cuts that this man who wants to be the dictator in chief in the United States will bring to us if he is elected. One of the death by 1,000 cuts of our educational system, the death by 1,000 cuts of women's rights, not only their rights, but their self-knowledge, their awareness of themselves. This is just patriarchy on display. It's disgusting. Gotta say, any Republican woman that votes for this is gross. And of course, they're going to make the argument, oh, well, you can talk about that at home. Well, not everybody knows how to talk about that at home. Okay. First of all, an educational system is supposed to help with these things. And second of all, It's not like the boys are talking about it anyway before age 12. So this is in school. So this is a direct attack on little girls and young women in their schools. It's terrible. I mean, I don't know how DeSantis is going to be voted on. He voted for, and I hope I wanted to bring this to light. The Guardian is covering it. It's not been a big national story because everyone is wondering when Trump is getting his handcuffs on, which I too am wondering, but I don't think following that should be at the cost of following what this wannabe Trump is going to do as he gets into office. I mean, he is banning, he's got a ban on women, right? Bans for women. He's got bans for saying gay. He's got bans against gays. He's got bans against blacks. I mean, pretty soon, hopefully he's going to be outnumbered, and he's not going to be able to get into office. Let's hope. He's already in a pretty high office, but now that he is showing his true stripes and how absolutely dangerous he is for not only this country, but for the world order, not that it's in such great order, but I mean, we say how much we love democracy, and then people are happy to vote for this freaking guy. Oh, anyway, in case you're watching and you'd like an idea of how periods might be talked about in school, well, let's try this. I've got this from the book Women's Bodies, Women's Wisdom that I think should be should be required reading for even the boys. Our Cyclical Nature from page 104. This is my idea of education on the period. Okay. The menstrual cycle is the most basic earthy cycle we have. Our blood is our connection to the archetypical feminine. Let's start talking about that. The macrocosmic cycles of nature, such as the ebb and flow of the tides and the changes of seasons, are reflected on a smaller scale in the menstrual cycle of the individual female body. The monthly ripening of an egg and subsequent pregnancy or release of menstrual blood mirrors the process of creation as it occurs not only in nature, unconsciously, but in human endeavor. In many cultures, the menstrual cycle has been viewed as sacred. Well, but let's definitely not mention that anywhere at all. I'm Julianna Forlano. You are watching the Political Voices Network. Leave your comments below about why you think Governor Ron DeSantis wants to ban people from talking about a very natural thing that is part of a woman's life cycle. Thanks for watching.
Republicans say they won't cut Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid. But can honest, hard-working middle-class Americans really believe what these politicians say? Republicans said they wouldn't overturn Roe v. Wade. Here's what Supreme Court Justices Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Coney Barrett said during their Senate confirmation hearings.
Roe v. Wade, it is a precedent of the United States Supreme Court. A good judge will consider it as precedent of the United States Supreme Court.
Roe v. Wade. It's settled as a precedent of the Supreme Court.
Roe is not a super precedent, but that doesn't mean that Roe should be overruled.
Well, we saw how that turned out. They played us for fools. Tell your elected officials to keep their hands off of our Social Security and healthcare benefits. Fool me once. Let Majority Rule was responsible for this message. LetMajorityRule.org is a project of the Marvin Lucas Super PAC, which is responsible for and paid for this ad and is not affiliated with or authorized by any political campaign or candidate or candidates committee.